Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. I feel like the rest of the country is finally starting to catch up in terms of realizing how good this Tennessee Vols defense is in 2024. And the Tennessee fans have heard me say this time and time again, even going back to the offseason. Yeah, Nico's a great quarterback, and we're fired up about this Tennessee offense and what they can do on the offensive side of the football. But what makes this team different, what I think makes this team special, in the 2024 season is how good this defense can be going on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, putting on the performance they just did. I think finally the rest of the country is starting to realize how good this Tennessee defense is. You look at the numbers through 4 games, 8.5 points per game allowed. That's number 5 in the country, 2.8 yards per play, number 1 in the country, only allowing 159 yards per game of total offense, number 1 in the country. This isn't just a good defense that Tennessee has. I think it's one of the best in the country. And I want to get into why this Tennessee defense is so special, but you have to start with the personnel. And the Tennessee fans who rock with the boys as we talk the recruiting trail in the offseason, this is where it starts. Like Josh Heupel takes over Tennessee, looks at this program and says, hey, I know I'm going to be able to put points up on the offensive side of the football. I'm one of the best in the business at designing an offense and developing quarterbacks. What is the biggest thing that's separating us from the teams like Georgia and Alabama, not only at the top of the SEC, but really at the top of the country? It's line of scrimmage play. And you saw Josh Heupel have a strong emphasis on just getting the bodies that look like Georgia and Alabama along the lines of scrimmage. You fast forward to 2024, they have that. The depth they have on the defensive line, the difference makers they have in the front seven, that's where it starts. Want to get into what makes it special. Now, before we do, and as always, the Tennessee fans, it's been a blast talking this program. Many of you guys know how high I am on this team. The amount of support y'all continue to show to the boys means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And let's start with the front seven, specifically stopping the run. You take a look at the numbers, 1.5 yards per carry allowed for this Tennessee front seven. That's number 2 in the country. I think it starts with depth. And you look at some of the separators between some of the elite programs that we've seen. I think Michigan is a great example from the 2023 year. Yeah, they have NFL dudes, right? Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, they get a lot of the attention. As a Michigan fan myself, like what made that Michigan defense so special in the 2023 year? I think it largely was how deep that defensive line. You look at Tennessee, I mean, they are legitimately rotating 10 to 12 guys that they have a ton of confidence in. And when kind of your first team defensive line is taking a breather off the football field, the level of play very rarely drops. That's not something that a lot of programs across the country can say. Michigan's obviously struggling with that this year. And I think it's especially important for this Tennessee defense that plays opposite a Tennessee offense that at times wants to run really fast, at times can be very explosive and score a lot. You're getting a lot of possessions when you're playing a Tennessee team. And so if your defense, you want to stay fresh through 4 quarters, the ability for Tennessee to rotate as many players as they do on that defensive line, keeping all their difference makers fresh throughout 4 quarters, I think that's where it starts. But I think secondly, when you talk about run defense, I think it starts with the inside. You talk about guys like Mari Thomas or Elijah Simmons or Omar Norman Lott, even guys like Moy in the 3 deep. They're all difference makers on the defensive line, not only in terms of getting behind the line of scrimmage, creating tackles for loss, but they're also difference makers at doing the dirty work. Want to get into one play that I think particularly highlights why this Tennessee defense is so good against the run. Look, Oklahoma, their whole purpose right here, we're going to go 4 wide. We're going to try to manufacture a light box so we can get something going on the run game. Tennessee's not afraid to stop the run with the light box. All right, we'll match what you're doing outside. We're going to light box you. I mean, what, 5, 6 guys in the tackle box right now? Where it starts is on the defensive line. And not only in terms of these defensive linemen being difference makers, but you take a look at right here, Omar Norman Lott. They do the dirty work. I mean, they're trying to double team Norman Lott, kind of get guys to the second level. We're winning at the line of scrimmage. I mean, you talk about a 3-man front looking like this to start a run play. That's where it starts. Not only are these guys difference makers in the pass rush and in the run game in terms of getting beyond the line of scrimmage, hey, we're going to do the dirty work too. Eat up double teams, let our linebackers flow downhill and free. Take a look at Pilly kind of cleaning this one up. I think it starts with the defensive line, but then it's a upgrade at the linebacker spot. Guys like Pilly, guys like Arian Carter. Although Tennessee lost their quote unquote starting linebackers last year, like, make no mistake about it, these linebackers are better. Yeah, they didn't play. Pilly missed the season. Arian Carter was a young cat last year. These kids are, and I shouldn't call Pilly a kid because I think he might be older than me. These guys are difference makers in terms of attacking the line of scrimmage, but I do think it starts with this defensive line looking like it's one of the freakiest, most physical defensive fronts that you see in the country. Obviously, Pilly coming in and cleaning it up. Once again, like a three-man front, we're going to be beating our double teams, or at least eating them up, letting our linebackers come downhill and free. Obviously, Pilly cleaning this one up. And then I think the second thing is, so it's very evident that running to the teeth of this Tennessee front is going to be very hard to do. So what you saw Oklahoma try to do in the second half was, all right, we can't run between the tackles. We're just mismatched from a personnel standpoint. Let's go try to get to the outside. Something that I've been extremely impressed with, we had question marks about the Tennessee secondary, not necessarily in terms of the talent in the room, but the youth. It, not only are they good in coverage, and we're going to get to that, they're really good at tackling in space. And that's something that's really important. If you want to be an elite defense, you have to be able to tackle in space. Taking a look at this play right here, Oklahoma's had enough running between the tackles. All right, we're going to try to show some pre-snap motion, try to get it to the perimeter here. Look at Christian Harrison, a guy that we kind of had question marks coming into the season, just wanting it more. I mean, that's Bauer Sharp on the outside trying to block Christian Harrison. Christian Harrison just wants it more. And when he gets the opportunity to make his play in space, he's absolutely doing so. This Tennessee defense, it's bigger, stronger, faster in the front seven than what we've seen the previous years. I think it starts with what Josh Heupel's done on the recruiting trail, just recruiting the guys he needs to have to win at the highest level of the SEC. But I think secondly, these guys are coached up phenomenally. Like, not only do they do the dirty work, are these linebackers fitting the right run assignments? These secondary guys tackling in space. And when you combine the development that we're seeing with also just having the freaky dudes that Tennessee needs to compete at the highest level of the SEC, that's really where it starts. Now, I think what makes this Tennessee team special is, yeah, they're really good against the run. The numbers certainly show it. Again, 1.5 yards per carry. That's number 2 in the country. This is where it gets really good for Tennessee. All right, we're going to win on first and second down against the run. We're going to have one of the best pass rush units that you see in the country coming after you and third and long. And I think where it starts, and again, when you talk Tennessee, you talk the pass rush, it obviously starts with James Pierce Jr., who, although on the box score is not necessarily lighting up to start this year, the Tennessee fans that watch every single snap of this football team know he's been extremely impactful. Taking a look at the pass rush, 7.6% sack rate, that's 38th in the country. It's so much better than that when you get into the film. Like 38th in the country, that's nothing to bat an eye on. It's been good in terms of the production. The amount of havoc that this front four is able to create is kind of on another level. And we kind of said this heading into the season. What makes this Tennessee pass rush, at least in my mind, so dangerous? It's not only James Pierce coming off the edge. And it's a guy like Tyree West. It's a guy like Joshua Josephs. It's a guy like Dominic Bailey. But not only the edge rushers, the guys on the inside are difference makers in the pass rush as well. You have 6 different players that have registered over 5 quarterback hurries through the first 4 games. It's coming from everywhere. And I think this pass rush rep kind of represents why this pass rush unit is so special. Again, we don't need to bring any pressure. We're just going to rush with our front 4, drop 7 in coverage. It's 2 different things. One, Joshua Joseph's on the outside, bottom of your screen right here, winning on the edge, just really beating the piss out of these tackles all game, whether it was Josh Josephs, whether it's James Pierce. But when you do win on the edge, a lot of times, all right, we can step up into the pocket if you're Jackson Arnold. You ain't got no place to step up in the pocket because of how dominant guys like Norman Lott are on the inside, just dog walking that center right into the lap of Jackson Arnold. I mean, this is a 4-man front within 2 seconds of when the ball was snapped, and you're looking at the havoc that you're seeing in the pocket. I mean, if you can consistently generate this kind of pass rush with a 4-man front, that's how you get special. I mean, you're trying to drop 7 and trying to throw into that with a 4-man pass rush. It's going to be very, very difficult. And look, we don't even register a sack here. James Pierce probably got to make that play, but you can just see the havoc, right? 3rd and 12, getting off the field, forcing another punt. That's kind of what makes this Tennessee team special. And then I think the missing piece, I don't think a lot of Tennessee fans are all that surprised that the run defense and the pass rush is really good. We kind of knew it would be really good heading into 2024. The biggest question mark we had was, What does the secondary look like? A lot of new faces, some young players. It starts with Jermod McCoy coming from Oregon State, who was brilliant as a true freshman in the Pac-12, where you look at Jermod McCoy playing in the Pac-12 last year as a freshman, going up against guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix and Caleb Williams. The quarterback wide receiver playing the Pac-12 last year was very good, and Jermod McCoy was one of the best cornerbacks in that conference. Take a look at Jermod McCoy's numbers: 16 targets. He's only given up 8 catches, but the real kicker here, only 39 total yards. And this is a Tennessee defense that's only given up a 58% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks, only 4.8 yards per pass attempt. So not only are they limiting the amount of completions that teams can have on them, but they're also just not giving up the explosive play. I think it starts with how well they tackle in space, but more importantly, the communication in the back end has been brilliant for a Tennessee secondary that, again, has a lot of new faces into this rotation and dealt with some injuries during fall camp. You look at where this Tennessee program is going as a whole. Like, hey, we knew this offense was going to be able to put up points, and I think people are unfairly kind of coming after maybe the offense in terms of not putting up the numbers we all expected. One, that was a really good Oklahoma defense. Number two, I think Tennessee in the second half said, hey, we ain't got to do anything special on offense. We can win this game with 25 points scored because our defense is really just giving Oklahoma no time to breathe. And so what we kind of see is Tennessee can win in a lot of different ways. If they're going to play an offense that might be able to put up some points on this defense, one, find me that kind of offense. But number two, if an offense can do that, we're pretty confident that Tennessee can hold their own at the very least in a shootout. But you look at Oklahoma kind of trying to drag that game a little bit into the mud, make a little bit of a rock fight, a defensive battle. Tennessee can go on the road and make it happen that way too, kind of on the back of what I think is one of the best defenses in the country. I think that's where it starts, how good they are against the run, how good they are against the pass, and not only in the secondary, but the pass rushing. When you have all three of those facets firing on all cylinders, you're also a top 20 defense in creating turnovers. It's one of the best defenses in the country. I think this translates to SEC play. We'll close it out there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.